Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim, and Chris. On today's Tour Catch-Up,
Eala roars back from rain delay to win in DC.
Liutova becomes youngest WTA champion since 2019.
And the Canada Masters gets underway with Zverev and Sabalenka as the top seeds.
Kim, Chris, today is the 3rd of August, and we are here to catch up on the week in tennis at Tennis Weekly HQ. On today's episode, we are going to be talking yet more history being created in Washington, D.C. Alexandra Eala, the first Philippine champion on the WTA Tour, notching her first title, one of perhaps many to come, with a rain-affected win over Jessica Pegula. It has been a Washington washout over the last 24 hours. We are going to be talking about the men's final as well, Taylor Fritz in action. We also had history being made in Memphis, where Kristina Liutova, I'm not quite sure at the moment. I'm sure we'll figure it out. 16 years old, becoming the youngest WTA champion since Coco Gauff in 2019. Truly incredible scenes there. We'll be talking about that. The Canada Masters is also underway. We'll be looking at the draws, making some predictions quarter by quarter in the second half. And we have the very interesting release from the ITIA, the full report on Markéta Vondroušova's doping case. Chris, I know you've been reading that in your spare time. We're going to be talking about that in the second half, but a lot to talk about, and a thing we need to start with is the elephant in the room, because last week we were very excited about Washington because Jack Draper was set to return. He was there with Andy Murray. There were some images of him playing ping pong. Literally 1 minute after we stopped recording, he withdrew from Washington. So I feel like it might have been our shortest length of time, our episode with going out of date.
We did date very quickly, didn't we? But it wasn't all bad news, because he has been given a wild card into Canada. So
yes.
He's actually due to play this evening.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Hang on,
Surely not.
Is he pulling out again?
I thought he was saving himself for the Brownsburg Challenger, which he was on the entry list for.
Oh,
I
when
think
is
we
that?
can conclude we have no idea what he's doing then. We are not sure.
Andy
his
Murray at the
plans.
Brownsburg Challenger. I mean,
Yes.
I was confused by everything that kind of went down because we just got optimistic again. I was talking about that set with Ben Shelton. We should have put out maybe a PSA saying at time of recording he was still in the tournament. We're not that out of date, but I mean we did go out of date very quickly.
Yeah, we did.
It's the hope that kills. We'll have to see what happens. We are recording a bit later today due to the washout in Washington as well. So that's the reason for the slight delay in terms of when this is landing. But we'll be getting on to the results from Washington in due course. But I wonder from both of you, what has caught your eye in the last week, both on or off the court, aside from Jack Draper's will he, won't he, or the rain
It
and
is.
the
It
lightning.
is a bit like a sitcom, isn't it? A bit of a drama now in terms of is Jack Draper becoming a bit like the Emma Raducanu? Like, will he? Won't he play a tournament?
Is
or
it a
not?
sitcom if it's not very funny at this point, is it?
No,
I'm
it isn't.
Yeah, there's not really any
genuinely
laughing about
It's a
this
dramedy.
story.
But when you
Whereas I
said
feel
kind of
for
on
them.
or off the court, I have to put Joel on blast here. What court are we talking about? Are we talking a paddle court or a tennis
yes,
court?
I actually need to fess up to this, because this weekend that we've just had, I was at I hope I'm saying this right, the Padel P1 qualifying event in London at
You're at
Olympia.
paddle qualifying.
Are we becoming Paddle Weekly? Should
well,
our listeners be worried?
I wanted to see some professional paddle up close, and I was told that this was the Queens of Paddle, biggest tournament ever in the UK.
Really?
So I wanted to go see what it was about, and I was quite entertained, actually.
Are you going to make it a regular occurrence?
Going to start playing?
Are you cheating on tennis? I'm sorry.
I-
We have
Are you a
let him off
traitor,
too-
Joel?
Yeah.
Are you a traitor or
This has
faithful?
come. I am being put on the spot here. I'm going to say this. I think paddle is really, really fun to play. Watching it can be fun, but I think tennis is more guaranteed entertainment. I just felt that kind of the top paddle players I was watching, it was a lot of lobs. It felt a lot of routine. At a lot of moments, but when there was chaos, perhaps with the lower ranked players, it was a lot of fun to watch.
You did get a bit unlucky, didn't you? You did say there was a bagel match in like 14 minutes.
The Brits were playing and they were bageled within 14 minutes. But to their credit, they honestly made the second set one of the best sets I've watched of Padel.
So the only set you've watched,
yeah,
right?
I know. But it was
much,
very entertaining. I wasn't even thinking about like the structure of the point and it feeling repetitive. It was very entertaining. But I need to maybe see a little bit more of it.
Okay, more to come from that story. But Joel, apart from Padel, is there anything else you've been paying attention to?
Well, I'm as well as maybe Padel Weekly. I'm on Carlos Alcaraz Haircut Weekly. I'm not that bothered about.
It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yes, we've seen him on the tennis court. His return to the court is inevitable, but the question is, what haircut will he return with? And it looks like we're going to get, I want to say, Cornrows Caraz. He has been
nice try
on his Instagram with the cornrows look. Listeners, if you want to have a look, just sort of type cornrows Carlos Alcaraz. He's adding it to his collection of haircuts. I'm actually losing count. I think he's got more haircuts than ATP and Grand Slam titles, at this point.
Yeah, there has been some wild looks from him over the last few years. Some blonde. Was there a mullet at one point?
I forgot about that.
Skinhead.
No haircut Alcaraz.
Yeah. I'm not sure I like the cornrows.
Buzz cut Alcaraz. I mean, Kim, what's your favorite? What's your favorite look?
Just his sort of normal starter look. Yeah, just
Kim likes a sensible short back and sides, please.
Yeah, I think though he's copied Flavio Cobolli because he had cornrows, didn't he, after Wimbledon? So is he copying him? Is this the new trend?
Well, is he copying
tennis?
Flavio Cobolli? Because I noticed, because Chris, you told me there's this kind of weird trail back to a BBC presenter. I think his name's Liam. Is it Liam Loftus? Liam Lofthouse, who interviewed Cobolli, and Cobolli got the inspiration for the cornrows look from him, and now it's seemingly gone further.
Can he claim credit for this? I mean, that's quite fun that your style impacted the top 10 of the ATP. Really did make a big impact. But I mean, it's questionable. A lot of people have been raising eyebrows about this. It's quite unusual. I think it does make sense from the perspective that he had so much hair at the World Cup that I thought something was brewing because he couldn't play tennis with that. We thought it was going to be he was going to wear like a hairband or something,
bandana.
A bandana. We thought finally we'd get that. We haven't got that. Some people will definitely not like it. I think it's probably on the wrong end of appropriation, but it is in keeping with what Alcaraz has done, which is whatever he likes on his head. I think he really doesn't care, does he? I think so. He's an icon, but not necessarily always a hair icon. Is that fair to say?
I think so, yeah. I mean,
he was an icon for me when he had the bleach look.
While we're on the subject of hair, should we talk about, Chris, I know you wanted to talk about the outfit unveiling for the US Open from Nike. I feel like this is a nice, it's all part of the image kind of based content that we're bringing this week.
I guess it's quite in keeping with his look. He's kind of gone for the basketball look. They've been revealed, these kits from Nike, the US Open
Not with
kits.
his updated haircut.
No, these were definitely taken before. In fact, I can barely recognize him here. He looks very much the Alcaraz that Kim likes.
What sport is he playing? Because I would have said Carlos Alcaraz kit makes him look like he's ready to play basketball.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it is the basketball look. It's quite reminiscent of some of the Nick Kyrgios sort of, the basketball jersey that he's worn previously. It's in
Sabalenka is wearing the net though.
Yeah, she is the basketball net. And then underneath is the basketballs. It really is quite questionable. We have to talk about it. They're sticking with the see-through look for Sabalenka. It is fishnets that the whole thing. It looks quite unusual, mesh, and they haven't actually hemmed the bottom of it. It's just been cut, so it might unravel as she plays, which I don't think is a great look for Nike. But what do we think? Is it fun? Is it New York? I'm not sure this would float at Wimbledon, but if we're picking
an all-white fishnet.
I mean, maybe there was a bit of that at Wimbledon.
It's a bit raunchy in a way, isn't it? But I think also it reminds me of like a boy in a sea. You know those orange boys in the
yeah.
sea that bob along, and then
Yeah.
it's sort of fishing net, lobster pot kind of vibes.
Yeah, lobster
I
pot.
don't know.
What about like a
Yeah.
little bit crab in a net sort of vibe?
all
I'm
I will
sure that's
say
not
is,
what Nike were intending.
I think this.
Nike, please sponsor the podcast.
I think this is very loud, but I think it's very fitting for Sabalenka, and I don't necessarily think in the past some of her outfits have matched her kind of character and personality, and I think this goes a long way, I think, with matching that. And perhaps it's a sign of the times with the US Open. We know it's such a a humid and hot event. I can sort of understand where that sort of mesh look comes from
Less
that
material.
perspective.
So you might rock one of these genuinely next Wimbledon, or for recording
Is there
purposes.
a men's equivalent?
I'll have to look into it for you, Joel. But
Okay.
one equivalent that I don't think you'll necessarily be rocking is Yannick Sinner. So we've had the excitement of Alcaraz and Sabalenka. It's very much like Miami, New York inspired. I'm kind of getting sort of like your grandpa vibes.
This is like clay
Poor
getting ready for
sinner.
the clay season, I think.
Well, we did this color analysis. I gave them the answers. This is not the palette that we were looking for. He looks, I mean, slightly unwell in this sort of off-white. I mean, Kim's laughing,
no.
but
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. The publicity photo ages him, I think.
he doesn't look like this, I don't think. And he's obviously in great shape.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a sort of a little bit rotund in this one. So I'm sure it will look better on. I'm sure there's a night session as well. I haven't seen that one, but we are giving you an update. Joel wants to talk fashion as always.
I just want to
I
say
like the maroon edging on it.
I
Yes,
would
I'd like
love
that.
Nike to accidentally get Sinner and Alcaraz the wrong way round and give Sinner the kind of the basketball look and put Alcaraz in the polo.
He's never done the no sleeves look, has he? I'm not sure how that would go down, but that colour, the purple, would be much better on him, I think, than the white. So
Okay.
we'll see how it looks on court. I mean, the jury's out on all of them based on.
Just let us know.
We're being very critical.
Other
here.
brands
Yeah.
are available other than Nike, and we've probably gone a bit hard there. But Kim, take us back to tennis.
Well, some real positive news. This has made my weekend, and that is the fact that Ollie Tarvet of Wimbledon fame, a lot of Brits will know him. He's had, he's qualified twice for Wimbledon and done really, really well. He's ranked like down in the 400s in the world, but he won the ITF M25 event in Aldershot comfortably. So I was delighted. I've got live score notifications for him specifically on my phone now, so I shall be reporting on him weekly if he does well.
So did you watch any of DC? Just Aldershot?
Yes, I can comment on DC as well, but I was drawn to Aldershot for
Kim, I'm not gonna lie. As soon as
Ollie
you said
Tarvet.
M25, I thought you were going to talk about like the motorway service stations, or
Yeah,
was
she
this
was
the
drawn.
tournament
also
just,
talk about
just
that.
off junction 4 of the M25.
Yeah, she was
Yes.
drawn to the M40 afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did cover the McDonald's on the M1 previously in a podcast, so we can definitely have motorway chat if you would like.
Anything but the actual tennis that happened this week, we are
Yeah.
very much good at.
But we are going to talk about the tennis that happened this week now, because we do have DC to wrap up. And well, we had the finals, both the men's and women's finals, finishing today due to rain yesterday. The women's final between Jessica Pegula and Alex Eala, they had to stop after a set and 3 games and come back today. And it kind of took a turn for the better for Eala today, because she was down a set, but she's come back with a vengeance today and won the last 9 games of the match, including a bagel in the 3rd set to beat Pegula and win her very first WTA singles title. So not a bad one to win as your first proper WTA title, a 500 event. DC, it's become quite a good event, hasn't it, in recent years on the calendar. It's the sort of start of the US Open swing proper. And she's kind of continuing her breakthrough with this win. And what an emphatic way to get it done, with a bagel in the 3rd set. I mean, how impressed have you been with Eala over the past week, and especially the way she came back from a set down in this final to win it?
I think
Chris?
she's really something special. I think the fact that she is on this trajectory now, I think is exciting. I think it's the sort of story that you can really get behind because she's got the momentum. She's carried it through. I think it was actually a really good decision not to play the doubles because she is a serious singles contender. I think this answers that question that she prioritized the right event. And I also think, I mean, the caliber of opponent she's beaten, I mean, some big hitters, which you would think would be quite tricky for her. I think sometimes there has been like a tendency that she can be hit off the court. But, you know, she came through against, I mean, some quality opponents in like Svitolina, Osaka, and then Pegula. I mean, back to back. That's so impressive. I think there are question marks around, you know, she has a big profile. She's got, well, we talked about this before, she's the most popular player in all of tennis right now, but she didn't necessarily have the breakout run to a title against top 10 players. And again, like there will be a bigger breakout at a Grand Slam, I believe, as well. I think that will happen in due course. But I mean, what a way to win your first title. I think, I mean, it's just so impressive, especially like 6-love. I mean, absolutely wiped the floor with Jessica Pegula. I mean, Joel, you must have been shocked at that bagel.
Yeah, I was. And also the fact you mentioned the wins against Osaka and Svitolina, both in straight sets as well. Like they have been emphatic statement performances. And in the final, if you look at the stats, I think a lot of people talk about Eala, and something that does hold her back is her serve. But actually, if you look at the stats in the final, she won 84% of points when her first serve went
giving
in.
Serve bot, isn't it?
So, you know, there is kind of, I think, genuine, as I say, kind of a feeling that, yeah, she could be a real threat come the US Open. We know Jessica Pegula loves playing on a hard court in Canada, in North America. So, yeah, I think she'll be full of confidence, and it's a perfect platform to, who knows, maybe even be a threat when it comes to the US Open. But yeah, I think she'll be riding high on the confidence, and I'm sure the WTA Tour as well will be absolutely enthused with this result. I think I read that her match in Canada, which has already been announced for that session, it's already, I think, sold out, and is not something that happens very often. So the fact that she's matching the tennis with her profile, I think, is a very, very exciting time for the tour.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a first round match. No, sorry, it would be a bye. She would get to the second round. Would it be? It's already sold out.
Yeah, it's really, you know, incredible, and yeah, very exciting to see. We just hope, yeah, she can sort of back it up. I mean, I guess the worry is the fact that this has been on a Monday. I think she's scheduled even to play in Canada tomorrow. Need to double check that. But is there a worry that the fact that the schedule was prolonged to 24 hours, do you think that will hinder her perhaps in Canada?
I'm not sure. Would you play it if you were her? I probably wouldn't play over in Canada, having played
It's too
here.
big now, Chris. Think of all the
I
fans.
think she should, unless physically she's, you know, there's a reason not to. I feel like
It's a lot of
she should,
tennis
but I
back to
don't
back,
think we should
Kim.
expect too much from her, because it is hard to back up your first sort of big win.
Would you
in
skip
tennis,
Cincinnati
I think,
then and play this week and then recover?
well,
I don't know.
depends what happens. If she loses first round in Canada, then she's got, you know, time before Cincy.
I mean, who knows? She might go on and win Canada after I've said pull out. But the question you said about her serve, though, Joel, I thought that was interesting. We were kind of debating it in recent weeks around the fact that
it's been a conversation that's not necessarily gone away despite the performances.
Yeah, I mean, Iga made it very clear it's very hard to return her slow because it's so slow, is what she said. And that got a few people talking, you know, is that just someone being a sore loser? It is a slow serve, you can't deny it, but it seems to be quite tricky for players to deal with. You've got to generate your own pace off it. It's going to stay low, especially on courts where it doesn't necessarily bounce that high. Is it a case that it's an asset for her at the moment, and actually working on it might make it a bit more of an average serve rather than actually quite a tricky one to deal with? Or what are your thoughts on it?
I think she's really good in terms of placement, which can mitigate from speed. And I think, you know, if you look in the past at players, it's not necessarily a deal breaker, I think, in terms of going deep at Grand Slams. I mean, before we were recording, we were kind of talking about players on the WTA side who haven't necessarily had big serves, but have, you know, gone all the way to Grand Slam finals. I mean, if you think about, you know, Maya Helinska more recently, but also players like Radvanska, Dementieva. So I don't necessarily think it's a thing that can hold her back, but I do think at the same time, that is still something that she can improve on. And perhaps, if she could get to a position where she could have a bit of variety with the serve, a bit of a change up, have a serve that's a bit flatter, bit more with a bit more pace to it, and mix that in with kind of maybe her serving at the moment. Having that variety, I think, will again help her in due course.
Because Renee Stubbs has come out and said that Alex Eala will never win a Grand Slam because her serve will always hold her back. Do you think, with what you just outlined, Joel, do you disagree with Renee Stubbs? Her serve won't hold her back to that extent because there are various things she could do, and clearly people are already having difficulty dealing with it, despite the slowness or because of the slowness.
Yeah, I think so. I think her other parts of her game are so good that I think can help mask that. I do think improvements can be made, but I also think court surface can help as well. We saw Emma Raducanu at the US Open, that incredible run to winning the title a few years ago. I think her serve was helped by the court surface, and I think if Eala can go into New York and use the surface to her advantage, particularly with her serve, I think it can help her rather than hinder her.
I mean, it's got to be nonsense, hasn't it? That's something for potential clickbait. But I mean, if you are beating top 10 players like she is, I mean,
you can definitely win a Grand Slam.
You can definitely win a Grand Slam.
Absolutely. I think the caliber of players she's beaten this week alone.
Yeah. She's got such a good record against top 10. I'm not sure what it was, but Joel, you were telling me she's the best on tour against the top 10 this year.
Yeah. What do you think it is about that? Because she's now 7-2 against the WTA top 10. It's clear to me that she is a big game player, can rise to the occasion. But do you think there's anything else in her game that makes it so tricky for the top of the women's game?
Ooh, that's a good question. I do think the serve has come up a lot, obviously, as being a tricky thing to deal with. But I also think she's just such a good competitor. I think she doesn't know when she's beaten. And I think she also genuinely believes that she's going to win these matches. And I think a lot of players who play against the top 10 don't necessarily have as much belief as she does. I think the nature of her popularity, the nature of her profile, and the way that her career is going, I think that she believes that she is going to be a top player in the world. I think she thinks it's almost like fate or destiny in some ways. So I think she thinks she belongs at that table, and I think she takes up space like that. So I think mindset's so important. I think she's got the right mindset. I think she's got a great head on her shoulders when it comes to those big moments. And it's gonna be exciting to see what happens, because it's been kind of bubbling under, and now I feel like this is going to be like an explosion of excitement on the WTA.
Do you think she plays better as the underdog? And is there a possibility? Is there a possibility that this is a breakout moment? Given what happened at Wimbledon, given what happened at Washington, is there an argument to say that if she continues this path, she's no longer going to be the underdog, and that's going to be a new challenge potentially for her?
I mean, that's also quite a privilege, isn't it? Not being the underdog, I think, means you've got yourself to a good point. She'll be ranked number 20 at seeded 20. Potentially around about 20 for the US Open. So she will get better draws as well. So I think before we get to that point where, there's a target on her back, I think she's going to get some more opportunities to go a bit deeper in slams potentially. And I think you have to get a lot more points to kind of be up there. I think, some players don't love it at the moment. Sabalenka's not loving it. I think everyone responds differently to those moments. And
I mean, it's a perfect moment. I do think this hardcourt swing on the women's side is a lot open than I was expecting at the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea who's going to win the US Open. Absolutely zero. So Kim, when let us know.
But Eala is a definite contender given what she's been able to do in DC.
Do you think? Because
I'm asking you.
She not reached week contender? 2 of a Grand Slam. Hang on. She reached round 4 at Wimbledon. Yeah. What is the level of expectation we should put on?
It does depend on the draw, doesn't it?
It does depend on the draw.
But
is this
tricky.
kind of like could we be talking about someone who
a finalist,
first time quarterfinalist,
semi-finalist? I can see that. I also think
yeah,
she might go out early as well at this one coming, but I think it's more about the overall season that you have, at this stage for her. And I mean, for other players, I think they'll be looking at this as an opportunity to pick something up. There's a lot of players who are in contention for this title, and a lot of players who are kind of unknown quantities as well. I think, you've got players like Sabalenka coming back. You've got Iga Swiatek. We have no idea how she's going to be playing either. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for surprises. So I'm not sure that a top seed is going to win it, but I think it's anyone's game. And I don't think you can say, someone isn't going to do it like Renee Stubbs has, because if you look at the winners on the tour, I mean, it's so hard to predict each week.
Well, I wonder if it will be Kristina Liutova winning the US Open, because let's talk Memphis now.
Is that your prediction?
No, I promise it's not.
Because people are listening and writing notes.
Yeah, that would. I mean, that if she did win the US Open, that would be perhaps more remarkable than Raducanu's run. But I mean, a lot of people be like, who on earth is Kristina Liutova? We didn't know either before last week on tour. She is a 16-year-old Russian who made it through qualifying in Memphis, made her very first main draw at a WTA event, and then went on to win it, beating Daria Vidmanova in 3 sets in the final. So take that, WTA Tour, because she has become the youngest tour level champion since Coco Gauff in 2019. But I think what's most remarkable is that this was her debut WTA Tour level event, which doesn't happen very often. And to make us feel really old, she's the first WTA Tour champion born in the 2010s. So
wow, my goodness.
Yes, that has aged us all.
We could be her
just
parents.
Reading that. We absolutely could all be her parents.
That's
oh wow.
We're not, to be clear.
Did you watch much of Memphis? Did you see any of her in action? And are there elements of her game that impress you, that you can see her carrying forward after this? Is this going to be just a flash in the pan, or do you think she's got what it takes to stick around?
I mean, that first match I saw some of, she was just one game away from winning before Alexandra had to withdraw. That was very dramatic, some very tough scenes to watch. And I mean, the way that she kind of took that opportunity that she got and then ran with it, I think was really impressive. I think the final, she had some match points where she had to really battle. I think it actually could have gone away from her. Some of those moments I was watching were like very tight, but she got it done. I think it's so refreshing when you see this sort of breakthrough, because so often, when you have players who are young, who enter the draw or qualify, it doesn't necessarily always end up going the way they'd want it to the first time that they do enter the draw. So very impressive. I was also watching this because Sloane Stephens did win a match, took out a seed before she went out. And I was kind of hoping that her conqueror would win the title, just because then I would feel less bad about Sloane's loss. But you can't really be disappointed when someone who is, 16 does something like this. And it wasn't necessarily the most empty of draws. Was it the toughest draw ever, Joel?
I think that was my... Do you know what? I was kind of thinking about this, and I was looking at the final, and I was thinking, we have had quite a few 250 draws where it sort of felt like an ITF draw. And actually, if you look at Lutova's season, she has been stacking up the wins on the rank on the tour below. I think she had over 30 wins on the tour. So it just shows that she was building great momentum. And I think if you look at the situations that she was in time and again this week, I mean, the match against the top seed Alexandra Zverev stayed very composed in very tough and challenging conditions, outlasted her opponent. Against McNally as well, she was 4-love down in that second set. Well, stole the momentum back, won it 6-4, and then in the final, going down 6-1 in a situation that's very unfamiliar to you. Again, just showed great composure and maturity that I was just like not expecting from someone who has never been even in a WTA Tour level tournament before. So I think the situations that she was in and the way that she dealt with them was the thing that impressed me most this week. And it makes me think that she's just not going to be phased. She can take a lot of confidence from her run. She's not going to be phased, when she kind of has other WTA level events. I think it will be interesting to see how the schedule for her is managed, because, she is still so young. But I think that can actually help her, develop and focus on the moments and help prepare her for, what's to come ahead.
Is she a contender to get a US Open wildcard? She's up to 126 in the live rankings now. She's the youngest player in the top 500.
I think she's going to have to work her way through qualifying.
Work her way through qualies.
But I don't think she'll be phased by that. I mean, she did qualify for the tournament this week, and I think it will be interesting to see how she does. And again, I think it's just, as you say, like these tournaments are great opportunities for young players to do something and to get match practice. So it's great to see that's sort of working for her. But Kim, we await your final prediction on her future. Mystic Kim over here.
Well, let's look back on all the tournaments from the ATP side of things, because we did also have the men in DC, and it was a washout in Washington, as we know. So the men's final was also delayed until Monday. But Taylor Fritz has got the job done, regardless of the day of the week. He has beaten Rafa Hodar in straight sets to win the Washington title. It's bizarrely his first title on the tour above a 250 level in almost 4 years. So been a long time coming that he's getting a slightly bigger title to add to his, current sort of tour records. But yeah, his third tour title at 500 level or above. What did you make of Taylor Fritz's week in DC? Quite comfortable in the final, I guess, overall against Hodar, who is still at the start of his career, getting to these sorts of finals for the first time. But Fritz coming through, he had to work for it during the week, but a worthy champion, Joel.
Yeah, I was just going to say Hodar Tabilo semi-final. Are we in the golden swing?
Well,
in South America, but Taylor Fritz. That was a very good week for him. Just I think what he needed, because he, last time we saw him on the court, quarterfinals at Wimbledon, losing to Sasha Zverev. I mean, he was just serving immaculately all week. It was just a reminder, I think, of just what a weapon he possesses, particularly with his first serve. And I think, he can do some damage. He can definitely be up there as a candidate for the US Open, I think, and this will give him the confidence. I think, we've seen him in these sorts of draws kind of get to the business end and put himself in the mixer, but as you kind of said, time and time again, really, he's kind of just fallen short of, becoming champion and being the last one standing. So I think this will be, a great confidence boost for him. And the fact that also he had some very tricky situations. I mean, he saved a match point as well against Mickelson, came through against Nakashima as well. He really has shown, I think, in this tournament that he is living up to his status at the kind of the top of the Americans game, which I wouldn't say necessarily everyone is doing, like Ben Shelton, for example.
Yeah, Shelton's got a lot of points to defend at this point of the season. He won last year's Canadian Masters. So kind of losing here in DC in the quarterfinals to Tabilo, not the greatest kind of boost to kind of having
Tabilo
a great US Open
hardcore
swing. Yeah. I mean, I think he's not really elevating himself where it matters most. And Fritz is obviously capitalizing, and I guess a number of other Americans like Nakashima may want to capitalize. He got to the semifinals. Great week for him as well. And it's about this time of the season where they obviously want to start getting ready for the US Open, starting to get that run of form going. A note on Hodar as well. Pleasing stuff for him on the hard courts. We saw him burst onto the scene in the clay, continued it with a solid Wimbledon, and now we're onto the hard courts. Chris, do you expect him to kind of keep this form up? He's sort of showing he can do it across all surfaces to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving his play right now. I think I also just like the fact that he is showing he can win on different surfaces. I think there was a question mark around the next gen on grass, especially. We have seen some great results. I mean, his clay swing was something else. It was such a big announcement to the tour. I mean, a huge upset for him against Arthur Gea, and then moving forward, he's even beating former champions in Nishikori, Musetti. These are some tough opponents he's beating, and he's beating them in sometimes straight sets in impressive style. So I'm excited because the next gen went a little bit quiet during Wimbledon. So I think the US Open is the perfect place, in the US Open swing. Perfect place to kind of get back out there and kind of get the excitement going again.
Yeah, I saw Cruz Hewitt as well got a win and then lost to Alex de Minaur. So interesting that he's now, I guess, going to see a bit more of him. And I guess his dad's probably going to be hanging around.
That must be a strange situation for de Minaur. Like, he's a player who's seen literally grow up next to kind of Leighton Hewitt's side on the tour, and now he's facing him. Very interesting.
Oh, his son, yeah, but got
oh yeah, not Leighton Hewitt.
Yeah. Well, people may, Venus is still going, Serena's dabbling. Maybe Leighton could come back. They could play some doubles together.
Give them a wild card.
Quite fun.
Doubles wild card.
Well, at the AO next year, who knows? But let's also cap off what happened in Los Cabos, the 250 out in Mexico. We had a new champion on the tour, and it's the third first time French tour winner in just over a week. We had Arthur Gea winning in Los Cabos, and he becomes the third after we had Halis in Kitzbühel and Van Asch in Estoril. So, gosh, French tennis is really having a bit of a resurgence. Gea getting the job done against Shapovalov, last year's defending champion, in straight sets. Yet another Frenchman has entered the fray. He'll be competing for the French number one eventually. So hopefully
who isn't at this point,
mentioning him a lot more on the podcast. But yeah, had we seen much of Gea before? Joel, was he on your radar before Los Cabos?
Not really, because he had not a great, he's had not great form on the tour this year. He's been a player who's very much been applying himself on the challenger circuit. He's had just 3 main tour wins this year, but actually if you do look at those victories, he had a great win against Lehechka at the Australian Open in round 1. I think also he's defeated Pericard and Makac as well. So there were some signs there, but again, it was all kind of like putting it together and building some momentum that was obviously been a real challenge for him. But he certainly got the talent, and it's a great story. I mean, Los Cabos, I think it's a very tough tournament against the defending champion as well, Shapovalov, in the final. I do think he helped him a little bit, but great win for Gea, and well, interesting to see how he does. I mean, we're not even spoken about like Moise Kouame, who had a great French Open at home. So plenty of
is he the next first-time titleist, do we think?
Well, yeah. Who's keeping the run going?
Is there a Frenchman this week that could win and be a maiden tour winner?
It's too big a title. They're picking up the 250s, Kim. I think maybe later in the season we'll see it. But, I mean, it's a shame. I did see Cam Norrie, went out in the semis.
Oh, I thought this was his to lose.
We did. He does love the tequila, though. He said 4 tequilas before Wimbledon. Maybe he had too much tequila down there.
I wanted to say, Kim, when you said Los Cabos, I did want to kind of just correct you and say this is the Cam Norrie Open.
Yeah.
Los Nozas.
Los Nozas Open.
Yes.
But on
has he ever won it?
Point,
no, we just named it that because he likes
feels
tequila.
Like a tournament he does really well at.
Yeah.
On a serious note, there's been 11 first-time tour level winners this year. What does that say about men's tennis? Is this aside from the top tournaments or it's Sinner or Alcaraz, essentially, it's anyone's game. It's really open for new people coming through.
I think it just says that the weakened 250 landscape, I think, unfortunately, is what it's more saying. You're not getting a lot of the top players who are playing them. And I think when you are, it's players like, Taylor Fritz, who's, winning them like he so often does, or some of the players who are kind of going down a notch because all those big titles are being won by, Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, all the top players, Zverev. So I think you've got to get your titles where you can. I think a lot of players are or have tended to drop down, but this year we're seeing a little bit less of that. So it's a free for all, I'd say.
There's hope for Ollie Tarvet yet. Then just give him a 250 and he'll be there.
Add a 0 to the end.
So let's take a quick break now. Do join us in the second half, where we'll be discussing the ITIA's full published report on former Wimbledon champion Markéta Vondroušova's missed doping test suspension. And we'll also be making some predictions as the Canada Masters gets underway with Sasha Zverev and Aryna Sabalenka, the top seeds. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly podcast. And let's kick off the second half, as always, with a game. We haven't done one of these in a while, but it is a mysterious player. Ooh. So, Joel, what have you got for us all?
It is a mysterious player. No par for the courts this week. I did have a couple of tricky categories. They felt a bit too tricky So I've gone
Save them
the
for another
familiar.
time.
Thanks for
I will
being
save them for another
kind.
time. Yeah, when I'm not feeling so kind. If Jack Draper goes out in round 1 of Canada, I'm going to be bringing the heat for our next
Oh, I can't make
game.
the next podcast. Sorry.
But I do have a mysterious player for you. I'm going to leave it up to you. Whether do you want to play together or would you like to play against each other?
I quite like playing with you, Kim.
Yeah, should we be united and
I
play
think
as
that
one?
when we confer during this, it's quite funny because Joel's just thinking, these idiots.
Well, I'm always nervous about the clues I do have for you and our listeners and how easy or obvious they are. But we are going to start with an old favourite in terms of our clue 1. Listeners, I have a set of clues. The name of the game is to guess the player in the least number of clues possible. And clue 1 for you both is I was born on the 22nd of May, 1981.
Oh. Oh. Oh no.
Oh, here we go.
No, it
It's like
can't
you're
be.
gonna guess
No.
you're gonna guess it straight away, aren't you?
No, because the 22nd of May is Novak Djokovic's birthday, but he's
He's
younger
not over 50.
than that.
Imagine
Yeah.
if it was Novak Djokovic.
I was like, hang on, I had to work out how old someone would be born in 1981. So they are 45 this year. Any thoughts, Chris? Who's 45?
Oh, this is tough, isn't
Venus
it?
Williams? I mean, she's 45. Is it Venus Williams? It can't be that easy.
You want to go Venus Williams?
Shall we?
Yes. She's 46, isn't she, actually?
Oh,
That's incorrect. It's not
Oh,
Venus
few.
Williams.
Well,
But
not
yeah, a
few,
good
I just
start.
thought
A good
that
start.
might be a bit hard
Okay.
to get it in one.
I
number 2.
really find it hard, these first ones, when you don't know anything, right?
I know. It's tough. Okay, right. Next clue. I won a junior Wimbledon singles title before turning professional.
I mean, Federer's not that old, is he? No, his birthday's in August.
Do you think it's someone who is... normally there's something topical to this.
Oh,
You
is it
know.
they've been in the news? They're coaching someone.
You know, like I'm thinking like, is there a Canadian player who is the tournament director? Who is the tournament director for Canada?
I don't know. I'd need to consult.
I'm
my
trying
list
to
of
keep a
tournament
straight face,
directors.
listeners.
He must think we're a fool.
Maybe it's it might not even be. Is it Daniel Nestor? No. He didn't
Daniel
win a
Nestor?
junior. Well, he could have won. We could have won junior.
We'll do
Wimbledon.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Why are we guessing Daniel
I
Nestor?
think he's older
What's-
than 45.
What's wrong with
actually.
us? I think he's older than that.
Yeah.
It's incorrect. Daniel Nestor
Oh.
is not the right answer.
It's
So I'm
not a
going to
strong
move
start.
on to clue 3
Daniel Nestor.
I
Prison
I'm trying to
for
think
us.
of Canadians.
Yeah.
I have reached a career high singles ATP ranking of world number 8 in April 2011.
Okay, so they reached that when they were 30. Number 8.
That's not easy to know.
Fernando Verdasco?
It's not a bad
Oh no, he didn't
guess,
win
but
junior Wimbledon though, did he?
I'm trying to think. Is it
Who did?
who else would
Ivan
be that
Lubicic.
age?
He won, didn't he? He won.
Lubicic must be older than that.
Oh, and also, did he not get higher than 8 in the world?
No, he went to number 2, didn't he, or something like that?
Hmm.
There's got to be topical. It always is. Okay, what about a Spaniard?
Maybe
What-
it's not. Maybe I'm just
What about
just coming out of nowhere.
No. What about Nicolas Almagro? How old would he
I
be?
don't think he won
No,
junior
he didn't,
Wimbledon.
no. We have to guess
David
something.
No.
David
Yes,
Ferrer.
I would like to hurry you for an answer.
Is it Mario Ancic?
That's
Mario
quite a good
Ancic
guess.
is incorrect.
Oh,
It is not Mario Ancic. Okay, slightly easier clue now. And Kim, this is one for you. I reached my only Grand Slam singles semi-final at the
Ooh.
2010 French Open. I
Oh.
lost in straight sets to Rafael Nadal.
so Sodling was in the final. And this did Almagro get to her?
Why would he
Oh,
say
it's not
that? He
Diego
said no.
Schwartzman. No.
Is it not? Wait, what year were we in?
Rare. 2010 French
2010
Open.
French Open.
I mean, if it was a
men's
really easy win, I've lost track of
semi-final.
all of those from Rafa. There were so
What did
many of them.
It was 6-2, 6-3, 7-6 to Rafa.
It's not. No, it's not Jürgen
absolutely
Meltzer. Oh, it could be Jürgen
clueless.
Meltzer.
Should we do that? I've
Is
got
that the year he
nothing.
beat Novak and then might have got to the semis?
Oh, was that when? Maybe this is the topical thing because he beat Novak Djokovic coming back from. We've talked about that this year.
That's not like topical to Canada or DC though. Should we say
No,
Jürgen
but
Meltzer?
Jürgen Meltzer has been mentioned on the podcast this year.
I think
Jürgen
it is someone
Meltzer?
Germany or Austrian kind of vibe, maybe.
We have absolutely nothing to go on, so please.
It's a correct answer. Very
Him.
good. It was Jürgen
Yes.
Meltzer. And you are correct. My next clue was going to be one of the very few men to come back from 2 sets down against Novak Djokovic in a Grand Slam. There is a topical connection. It's a lot more niche, though.
Is he dating?
A Canadian person.
Yes. Bianca Andreescu. No.
Dominic
Incorrect.
Thiem.
Dominic. Oh,
We're Austrian. They're both Austrian. We talked about
future
him playing
tournament
football last week.
director.
No, that is not correct either. Jürgen Meltzer's brother, Gerald Meltzer, coached Arthur Gea, who won on the tour in Los Cabos. Bit of
There
a
had to be
niche
something.
connection, but yes. I thought
Wow.
We know how your
Gerald
brain
Meltzer was a
works.
bit too specific.
What I love is that you thought this was the nice one.
Yeah, just wait until I tell you the tricky one.
If you're still with us, listeners, well done for just making it this far.
Well, thank you very much, Joel, for that. That definitely did stretch our brains. So thank you. Something interesting came up from Aryna Sabalenka on X recently. She was proposing changes to pre-tournament media, suggesting that perhaps they could do the top 10 players all together for a press conference like F1 style. Do you think that suggestion for pre-tournament media could be adopted? Is that it's sort of more up to date, in keeping with the times, a bit more efficient maybe for everyone?
I
Or
mean, does this just sound like,
She really
Sabalenka
doesn't want to do.
doesn't want
She doesn't want to do
it.
her
She
media
really doesn't want to do
commitments.
And it's
free media
because of
commitments.
people like you and questions like yours, Joel. That's
We'll
what's
be
done
asking
it.
about her fishing outfit,
Yeah.
Well,
she doesn't
I mean,
want that.
I will start us
interesting.
off. I feel like this sort of. I'd love to see it in as a kind of a test. It feels like it's something that lends itself perhaps to like a WTA Tour finals setup more than
that would
a
be
Grand
fun.
Slam.
Yeah, imagery.
But
Or ATP finals.
I do wonder, like, is it going to waste a lot of people's time if they did like a 30-minute session with 10 players? You're inevitably only going to get one person talking at one time. So does it waste a lot of players' time, and maybe it's not the most efficient way to do things?
I mean, if you got Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, and then like Taylor Fritz together, I'm not sure Fritz is getting a question in. I think you do, obviously, you'd prioritize the better media opportunity for the bigger player for your stories. I think that would be not the best. But I do like the idea, if you're not familiar with how F1 do it, they have these sort of group press conferences. That's what she's sort of suggesting, is replicating that. They also have much more stripped back media responsibilities throughout the event. You do one after your practice, you kind of walk down a line, you tell people what you thought, all the big broadcasters, and then you only go back for like a podium interview afterwards. So it's not like everyone is being interviewed after everything, whether they've won or lost necessarily. It is much more a set structure rather than like these requests. I think probably the media does need to be shaken up. I think it isn't necessarily
Pre-tournament media.
Yeah, I think all of it does, really. I think we've been at these tournaments and slams where everyone turns up for pre-tournament and then interest dwindles significantly and the quality of question that players getting is not great. And I do think that it does need a bit of new life in some of these new formats. So as you say, like, I'd love to see this brought in at, the ATP finals could be fun. I think that nature, get the groups in. I think they do that at UTS where they have a lineup of the groups. I think that would be very entertaining. The format is much more, you're all playing each other. So then the questions can be about those matches and what's coming up. And
But what about the
get
rest
better
of the players?
interaction between
Yeah.
them. It's a bit more fun and banterous between the players.
it's heading
which I
that way,
like.
isn't it? Towards
You could televise
media.
that.
Yeah.
People would be more likely to watch a press conference if it's all of them together having a bit of a joke around. So I get where she's coming from. I think that would be more entertaining as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, no one's watching a 25-minute press conference with Sasha Zverev, let's be honest. So
yeah,
I think that's where, if you are making it for content purposes, and if you are making it for like efficiency and evolving what we do, I think that does make a lot of sense. I would still like there to be the option for one-on-ones, because I do think there are those stories where players really would want to talk about something. And if you don't get the opportunity to do that, you know, like we spoke to Henry Patton at Wimbledon, or there are other people who we've spoken to in one-on-ones, that would be losing something, because I think there are a lot of stories in journalism that happens in tennis that we want to support. But I do think it is a bit weird, you know, coming back every day or every other day to basically like the same questions. If you win your match in straight sets very comfortably, you know, you're not getting great questions every time if you're one of the top players.
What happens though, I guess the only thought I had against it was, let's say you had a Russian player and a Ukrainian player in the top 10 and they were in the same lineup and a question came up on, I don't know.
Could be a bit awkward, couldn't it?
It would be awkward, but you can't censor the press, can you? You can still ask about all those things. But I mean, again, I think it's quite funny that we're talking about this, because I was so oblivious to F1 that I didn't realize I was standing next to Kimi Antonelli at Wimbledon.
Oh, yes.
I was trying to find out.
There was such a hubbub, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was such a hubbub, and I was absolutely clueless. So I think I've looked into it more, and I think there are things we could borrow, but also things we wouldn't want to lose. But
nice.
You know,
right. Well, we'll have to see what does happen, if there's any weight behind that and that gets taken on board or not. But let's dip into doping now, because we had Markéta Vondroušova's full written decision in the anti-doping case involving her. This was published. All
58-page report, Kim.
Yeah, and Chris has been thoroughly analysing it, highlighting
every page.
You download the PDF,
annotating it.
Go to bed.
Actually, I faxed a copy to Joel to look at as well. Yes, I did. Put it in my ring binder.
But it does tell us some of the key parts around like her mitigation for why she refused this doping test. She said it was due to safety concerns, etc. But then it also stipulates why the ruling disagreed with her safety concerns, namely where she lives in Prague is quite crime-free. Her comparison with Petra Kvitova's attack was an exaggeration. And then the fact that she went out and walked her dog about 10 minutes after this tester came to her house and caused this, you know, big incident with her. Yeah, I mean, Chris, I'm going to defer to you here because you have thoroughly analysed it, as we were saying. Do you think now you've seen this full written decision, you support the result that was given, that this is a 4-year ban for her?
Well, firstly, my bugbear with both of you two was that you were Vondrousova sympathisers on the podcast. I wasn't there. So this is the first time I can really, you know, stick that to you. But I mean, obviously, we don't want to see champions banned. But unfortunately, in this case, it is exactly as suspected that she has completely done this to herself. Her and her agent are really the only people that you can look for fault for here. And I do understand trying to get a case to get some of this reduced, but you cannot refuse a test because that is just completely against the nature of what doping testing is about. And if you do refuse a test, then you obviously have to have the same penalty as if you tested positive. And it's so hard to explain why you would refuse a test. It's really hard. Whereas with the comparisons with Sinner and Iga, they had explanations that were plausible enough that could be deemed believable and valid, and therefore they could have their sanctions lifted or a minimized sentence. Whereas there's not much that could reduce the sentence here. I think it will probably maybe go down slightly if she does appeal it. But there's a lot of things in here that don't ring true. I think, you know, the fact that she did say that she was scared. It did not appear she was scared because she walked her dog and walked past this person having another conversation with them. You know, the fact that she said they didn't identify themselves, but she didn't actually give them the opportunity to identify themselves because she just refused to take the test. So a lot of the things that she's using as like key elements of this are just not substantiated by evidence. You know, she said she had an acute stress reaction and kind of the anxiety that she said had been a problem for her for years. There's no medical evidence of this. It's all kind of in retrospect, post this incident. So I think she's made either a terrible decision in refusing this, completely uninformed on how the doping process works, because she said she was normally tested in her window, and when she wasn't, it was in the morning by people that she knew. I mean, that's on her. If you're a player, you have to be aware and up to date on what the protocols are. And then the other alternative is that she couldn't take the test for a reason that would link herself to doping in that respect. That's the only real reasons why you would refuse a test, unless you really didn't know that you had to take it, or you can't take the test. So we didn't learn a lot more, but it did kind of verify what we did know. And I mean, there's some stuff that's gone viral in there where, you know, she's texted her partner saying all sorts of
we can't actually say some of the
things. We
things.
can't say it, can we?
Yes, there's some rather naughty words.
Yeah, I mean, her
there.
WhatsApp is the thing that's really got her in trouble, because it made it clear as soon as the bell rang and she identified herself that she knew she was that the woman was there to test her. So I guess that's the only thing that we could talk about from a debate perspective for both of you, would be around the fact that if she had just not answered the intercom, there would be no ban. And that is a very strange thing when it comes to the out of competition and the testing that happens outside the window, is that if you essentially hide from the testers, you don't have to be tested. So people are saying the fact that she did answer meant that she had nothing to hide, but clearly she didn't know she had to take the test. So where do you stand on that? Because you don't find out about the times where people have seen someone and hidden from them, or have not made themselves aware. But when you make contact, you've got to be tested.
Yeah, I think it's a bad error of judgment on her part, and they've tried to kind of, you know, come up with some explanation for why she behaved as she did, and it's not quite cutting the mustard. But I mean, she is going to be appealing. She's got to lodge her case with the CAS, Court of Arbitration for Sport, before kind of next week, the 11th, I think.
Are you as sympathetic to the cause, Joel?
Yeah, I think reading the report and the headlines.
Did you read it?
I did read the headlines, and
well done.
I'm not as sympathetic perhaps as I was to begin with, and I think it does show that it's really hard to comment on these things in a way that feels fully informed until you get both sides. And you know, reading this report, I think what stood out for me that was interesting was, yes, there are these windows, but it sounds like there's a bit of misalignment in terms of what they actually mean, and the fact that, yes, you can be tested in those windows, but you can also be asked to be tested outside of those windows. And I think it was interesting reading about the fact that, you know, the agencies need an element of surprise, so it doesn't necessarily feel like a routine or some sort of regime, because if they have that, then, you know, it's something that they can use in their arsenal. And I think for me, it's shown that there's a bit of a misalignment in terms of kind of education, and as a result, Vondrousova is paying the consequences. And perhaps,
do you think it is the education, though? I guess when it comes to this, because
I think that's to me, I think that's a part of it, and I think that is down to her, but I think it's also down to her team as well. And I think more maybe can be perhaps done there. But the fact that she did answer the door, I think she made it worse for herself from that point. And to me, once it was like I walked the dog 10 minutes later after some sort of adversity.
That's where she lost me on the dog.
To me,
bit,
where
the dog walk is where Joel and Kim. I can understand that.
I wouldn't have understood that behavior if you were separating.
It's tough. It's tough though, because
it reads it. The problem that I have is the same reason why Jessica Pegula, you know, people like her were saying, who should be highly informed, and it is the responsibility of the players to be informed of what the regulations are. You know, not everything can be spoon fed to these people. But saying, you know, it doesn't feel right that she got a 4-year ban having never doped or tested positive. And I think that's where it's a tough look for the sport. And I think when you have the different rulings that happen around Sinner, around Iga, I think you just can't compare the cases because everything is so different. But I guess the only thing that I really object to is to saying that, you know, she is a clean athlete, because the point is, at that point, she didn't prove that she was. So you can't say that she was. And she did take a test a few days later that came back negative, but it's so advanced, things leaving your system, that, as you say, Joel, the element of surprise is so important. I mean, take the Tour de France. I mean, Jonas Vingegaard could be very much thinking that, the loss of sleep he got from a 3 a.m. sort of doping raid that happened could be the reason, he had to abandon the Tour de France on the next stage that day. So I think surprise can go too far. I also do think that it's important. So I do hope that, 4 years is a long period of time. I think I'm not a sympathizer with many people's causes, but I do think a lot of people have got off a lot lighter. So I would like that reduced.
Okay, well, thank you for your thorough
I was reading it on a train in Sweden, which I've never read a doping report in such an interesting location, Kim. It's always been like, the Hallett ruling. We were in an Airbnb in Manchester, Joel, sort of like scouring it,
by candlelight.
Yes, literally.
I think you should go into a new profession. I think you should go and work in sports doping. Like, on the legal side
if
of
you
it.
can't beat them, join them. Is that what you think?
No.
I'm going to change it from the inside.
Be the judge, yeah. Well, let's talk about the Canada Masters, which is getting underway this week, of course. We've got the men in Montreal and the women in Toronto. And
Sorry, how did you say that, Kim? Toronto.
Well, it's not Toronto, is it?
Is it not?
You've got to say it in a Canadian. Well, Canadians don't say Toronto. It's Toronto, I think. So
okay.
I'm doing my best. But Shelton and Mboko are the defending champions. But sadly, Mboko is not playing. She is still out injured. But Shelton is very much in the men's draw. We do have some predictions to make, don't we? Let's do the men first. Zverev is the top seed. FAA is the second seed. We, of course, have had quite a number of withdrawals from this event. No Sinner, no Alcaraz, no Djokovic. So that is the situation. But
Stefanos Tsitsipas is in there. Had to go through qualifying.
Yeah,
he did. Yes,
for the
Draper's
first time
in
on
a wild card.
He might be making a deep run in my predictions, Mr. Tsitsipas.
Okay. Well, shall we do those predictions? Shall we do quarters first, and then we'll do semis and winners?
Yes. Please come to me last.
Okay.
It's looking very empty, your section of the script, Joel. Yes. How long should I drag this out for?
Picking names out of a hat, Joel.
You just got to make sure you didn't do what I did for Wimbledon, where I picked 2 people from the same section and didn't decide. But I've got Zverev versus Fritz, a classic. We get that a lot. Medvedev, Tsitsipas. I've really gone for the rivalries
Old
here.
School.
Yes, exactly. And then I've gone for Hodar, Diminar, a battle of the Spanish speakers. And then I've got Rublev, Nakashima, one for you, Kim.
Nice. Okay. I'll go next then. I've got Zverev, Fritz as well. Then I've got Menchik, Shelton, Hodar, Shapovalov, and Kaboli against Nakashima. So that's me. A few differences there. But Joel, what about you?
Joel doesn't know yet.
I know.
Have you made it up?
I've gone for it. Right. My quarters are Zverev, Fritz, Medvedev, Fonseca, Blocks, Feast, Rublev, FAA.
Quite a lot of difference then. I was debating Fonseca, to be fair.
I was tempted by Blocks as well. But I mean,
could be a good shout.
It's good. It's wide open. That's what it just shows, right?
Okay, so Chris, your semis to winner, please.
Oh, this is where I lose the plot a bit, but Zverev, Tsitsipas, Hodar.
Sorry, what year is this?
Last time I checked, it's 2026, but I can't be sure. I've got Hodar, Rublev, and then in the final, I've got Zverev versus Rublev.
Okay, right. Well, I've got Zverev, Menchik, and Hodar, Nakashima for my semis, with a Zverev Hodar final. I've gone for Zverev to win, though.
I was so close to going Hodar, but that semi-final lineup, you'd be glued to your television for that one, Kim.
Oh, no. Nakashima, Hodar, yeah. What about you, Joel? Who's winning?
I have gone, this is completely rogue, I've gone Fritz, Fonseca, Feast, Rublev. Fonseca, Feast, my final. João Fonseca as my champion.
Sort of Fs in there.
There are a lot of Fs.
Fonseca, okay. I've gone.
And I don't think Fonseca is the right F. But Fritz playing today. I don't know if that's going to mess him up.
Did I not give my champion?
No, is it Zverev or Rublev?
Zverev. I also went for. I mean, I've gone top seed,
and a Fonseca, yeah.
Joel not going for top seed, unheard of.
I'm not going to lie. Looking at the draw, it in a weird way, it does feel like Zverev and everyone else.
It does.
And he's a Grand Slam champion now, so
it's a different Zverev.
Well, he'll want to win this. I think he's got a point to prove. You've got to push on. And I don't see anyone playing better tennis than he did in the final of Wimbledon. I thought that was impeccable. But I mean, we've got all the big hitters on the women's side, haven't we?
We do have them indeed.
A returning
Sabalenka,
Noskova, Kim.
seed. Noskova's back from Wimbledon victory. But do I have her in my predictions? Let's see. Let's do our quarter by quarter for the women. Joel, I'm going to come to you first this time. You can't.
Okay.
Have you done it?
I have done this. I have got Carol Zhao as my champion.
Well, stop now.
So
Done.
yes.
Mic drop.
Love it. Right.
No.
Well, bye for now.
Clip it.
See you next week.
I've got Sabalenka, Anisimova, Schneider, Kostuk, Noskova, Gauff, and then blockbuster Osaka, Krejcikova.
Oh, that is a tasty lineup, I think. Okay, I'll go next. I've got Sabalenka, Potapova, Pegula, Keys, Eala, Jovic, and then Osaka and Anne Lee. So I always love to throw in there.
Kim.
Yes.
Anne Lee mentioned.
What about you, Chris?
Well, I'm inspired by Ostapenko's ballroom dancing videos on TikTok. I think she's going to dance her way to the quarterfinals, and she's going to face Svitolina. I've got Diana Schneider versus Marta Kostyuk, Belinda Bencic, Iva Jovic, and then I've got Osaka versus Kristea.
Oh, interesting.
I love a classic Bencic. You're always bringing the Bencic.
I have not moved on to the next gen, have I really?
Yeah. Surprised Svitolina wasn't in there.
She was.
No one
she
has
was,
said.
sorry.
No one has said Eala as well.
No, Kim did. Kim said
Did
Eala.
Kim say Eala? Sorry.
Is
I'm
anyone
sticking with
listening
the
to
you.
each
Sorry.
other? Come
so
on.
I zoned out for Kim.
You zoned out
yes.
for Kim.
Thanks.
No,
Joel.
sorry. I mean,
Who listened to my every word.
Okay,
Wait, what did Joel
well,
say?
Joel's got Noskova in there. He's the
Where
only
did you
one of
go?
us.
Yeah.
Didn't even realise
yeah.
you went, Joel.
So yeah, there we
Right,
go.
we
No one's
haven't listened
no
to
one's
each
listening
other.
to anyone.
Okay. Our listeners might not be listening at this stage. What about your semis to winner, Joel?
I've got Sabalenka, Kostuk, Gauff, Krejcikova, and my final is Sabalenka, Krejcikova with my champion Barbora Krejcikova. I think she's been playing some great tennis. She was on that great run in Prague. I think she's one to watch out for.
She also won
Nice.
Athens.
Can't complain with her winning. I've got Sabalenka, Pegula, Eala, Osaka with a Sabalenka, Osaka final. But I have gone Sabalenka to win it. So I'm boring. I'm going for the top seeds in both. Chris.
Right. Svitolina Kostyuk. I think that can happen.
All
I've got
Ukrainian. Yeah,
one of my
nice.
favourite matches from this year, a Roland Garros, Jovic versus Osaka. And then in my final, I've gone for Kostyuk versus Osaka. And I do think that Marta's going to get it. I think Marta Kostyuk is going to get another 1,000 title. But I mean, again, there is a lot of variety on display here.
There really is. We've gone Krejcikova, Sabalenka or Kostyuk. Well, listeners, let us know who you think is winning. Who would your champion be? Do any of us have it, do you think?
I mean, we
Probably
could
not.
almost do the next collector set on what did Joel predict or Kim predict. None of us would know.
None of us mentioned Swiatek. No one
Did we not
mentioned
mention
Swiatek.
Iga?
No, Swiatek does not has not featured.
We mentioned
or
Goff,
Rybakina.
didn't we? No, Rybakina.
I did mention Goff. No one mentioned Rybakina.
Andreeva. No one.
Oh my
We
goodness.
haven't gone for
The
there's so
people will
much
be
choice.
screaming at us. I
So
think because
much
we
choice.
feel like sometimes this doesn't get the attention it deserves, we've just gone rogue.
I like to go rogue from time to time.
Yeah, you
Anyway,
do,
as you
you
know,
do.
but sometimes it
Oliver
pays off.
Tarvet, men's
Oliver-
champion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where
He's
is he
not even in the
now?
draw,
Where's his next
but-
tournament, Kim? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know.
Haven't got the notification
M40
yet.
or the M40.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
M1. The M1. No. Right, we're going to wrap up our latest tour catch up here at Tennis Weekly HQ. We hope you've enjoyed the ride with us. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of action from the ATP and WTA tours as we head towards the US Open. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting platforms out there.
And if you love what you're hearing, then be sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube.
And you can stay connected with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and X. The handle for all of those is Tennis Weekly Pod. And if you'd like to get in touch with us for a mailbag, you can drop us an email, tennisweeklypod@gmail.com, or message us on social media, or visit our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we will be back next week for another tour catch up. But until then, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.